Welcome. In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about how harvests, like in this clear cut, and other forest practices might create some good pollinator habitat, and also recognize what it is that makes good pollinator habitat so that you can do things to improve it or protect it on your property. Clear cuts, an important part of forestry in Western Oregon, and they're often ugly. At least many people tell me so. But probably not if you're one of Oregon's hundreds of native bees. In fact, this might look pretty good to you if you're one of them. Many of our native bees do really well in these disturbed conditions where we have forests rebounding after some disturbance like a clear cut. So what is it that bees need or like? Well, two key building blocks of bee habitat are nesting resources and flowering resources. Let's talk about each. Nesting resources vary according to the type of bee, but most of our bees in Western Oregon are solitary bees. They have individual nests and homes as opposed to the more familiar honeybee, which forms very, very large colonies. Most of our solitary bees in Oregon are actually ground nesters. And so they look for and need bare ground often to dig tunnels in which to lay their eggs and raise their brood. We also have a group of bees who prefer to nest in wood debris, in little crevices or tunnels in the wood. So a lot of the debris left behind in a clear cut is actually good nesting habitat for many different kinds of bees. And many different plants also have pithy cores that can be hollowed out and used as nesting sites as well. So the other key building block for pollinator habitat is flowering resources. Obviously, bees are using flowers to collect nectar and also pollen to feed their brood. So having an abundance of flowers of many different types over a long season is the best possible way to provide a diversity of habitat for a wider variety of native pollinators. Point here is, after a disturbance like a clear cut, that site can really be providing a lot of the habitat requirements that our native pollinators need. Having different species is important in a number of different ways. Flower shape is important because different bees are built differently, have different sizes of bodies and have different sizes of tongues, and having different types of flowers and different flower shapes allows more bees to take advantage of that resource. Remember, under the Forest Practices Act, you're required to successfully replant forest trees after a harvest. And sometimes that puts that objective in competition with the objective of meeting some habitat requirements, such as pollinators. So while the disturbance does create some openings, some opportunities, some of our other practices can actually undermine some of those advantages habitat-wise that are created. For instance, we will often be going on and doing some weed control to allow our forest seedlings to get established and grow. And how we choose to do our weed control can have quite an impact on the floral resources or the nesting resources that are there at the site for the pollinators. It's worth thinking about the practices you do in your normal forestry operations, such as clearing brush, site preparation, and weed control, as steps that you can perhaps modify to maintain or enhance habitat quality for pollinators.